The Discovery. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the darkness of lunar base Sigma, her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the holographic display before her. The artifact they'd discovered buried beneath the moon's surface wasn't just alien, it was impossible. The crystalline structure pulsed with an inner light that defied known physics, its geometric patterns shifting in ways that made her eyes water. Dr. Patel. Her assistant's voice crackled through the comm. The energy readings, they're off the charts. Maya's fingers danced across the haptic interface, her mind racing. For 3 months, they'd been studying this object, this impossible thing that had waited silently in the lunar regolith for what their dating suggested was over 1 million years. Now, as humanity faced its greatest crisis, it had chosen to wake up. "Record everything," she commanded, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "And get me a direct line to Defense Command. Priority Alpha." The timing couldn't have been more crucial. Just 2 weeks ago, deep space arrays had detected them, a vast fleet of alien vessels, moving with terrible purpose toward the solar system. First contact, but not the kind humanity had dreamed of. The approaching armada had already destroyed 3 outpost colonies near Proxima Centauri, leaving no survivors and no doubt about their intentions. Maya's tablet chirped, displaying a priority message from Fleet Admiral Chen. "Tell me you have something, Doctor." "Anything." Her eyes fixed on the shifting patterns of the artifact, Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Admiral, I think we just found our salvation. But you're not going to believe how." The artifact wasn't a weapon, as many had initially suspected. It was something far more valuable. A repository of defensive technology so advanced it bordered on magic. As Maya and her team worked around the clock to decode its secrets, they discovered the truth about its origins. It hadn't been left by the approaching invaders, dubbed the Swarm by Earth's media. It had been left by their ancient enemies, a species that had faced extinction at the Swarm's hands and hidden their legacy in places they hoped others might find. "The physics are revolutionary," Maya explained to the hastily assembled World Defense Council 3 days later. They didn't just master shield technology. They found a way to turn an attacker's energy against itself. Every shot fired at a protected vessel doesn't just get absorbed. It gets redirected and amplified. The council chamber erupted in excited whispers, but Maya wasn't finished. "There's more." The artifact contains specifications for a prototype vessel. Something small, agile, and capable of channeling enough power to protect an entire planet. Admiral Chen leaned forward, his weathered face intense. "How long to build it?" Maya met his gaze steadily. "The Swarm will reach Mars in 6 months. We can do it in 5. The next weeks were a blur of activity. Every shipyard on Earth and Luna was converted to support Project Sentinel. The artifact's secrets were parsed and translated into human engineering, leading to breakthrough after breakthrough. Maya worked until she couldn't see straight, then worked more, driven by the knowledge that humanity's survival hung by a thread. The Swarm's messages began arriving 3 months into the project. Broadcasts in perfect English, describing in clinical detail what they planned to do to Earth and its inhabitants. They'd done this dozens of times before, they explained. Humanity was just the latest in a long line of civilizations to be processed and repurposed. Maya listened to these messages late at night in her lab, letting them fuel her determination. The artifact's creators had left more than technology. They'd left a warning. The Swarm didn't just destroy civilizations. They absorbed them, taking what they deemed useful and discarding the rest. 4 months in, they had their first successful test. A small drone equipped with the new defensive system easily deflected energy weapons that could have vaporized a battleship. But scaling up the technology proved challenging. The power requirements for a full-sized vessel were astronomical. "We can't power a whole fleet," Maya reported grimly to Admiral Chen. "We barely have enough specialized materials to build and power 1 ship." Chen's response was immediate. "Then we make it count. 1 ship is all we need." As the first photos of the Swarm fleet reached Earth, Taken by the few remaining outpost sensors near Jupiter, Maya stood in the observation deck of the lunar shipyard, watching humanity's last hope take shape. The vessel was unlike anything ever built by human hands, sleek, dark, and almost organic in its curves. They called it the Sentinel, and in 5 days, it would face the largest alien fleet humanity had ever seen. Maya touched the window, her reflection overlaying the ship below. The artifact pulsed beside her, its light seeming to reach out toward the Sentinel like a parent recognizing its child. In its shifting patterns, she saw either humanity's salvation or its epitaph. The final test was tomorrow. In 5 days, they would know if they'd understood the artifact's message correctly. 5 days to prepare for a battle that would determine whether humanity would survive or join the long list of civilizations that had fallen to the swarm. Maya whispered a quiet prayer to whatever ancient species had left them this gift. "I hope we made you proud." Project Sentinel. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the massive viewport of Lunar Base Sigma, watching as engineers swarmed over the Sentinel's obsidian hull. The ship seemed to drink in the harsh lunar light, its surface rippling like liquid shadow. As daughter of Admiral Chen, she'd grown up around experimental spacecraft. But this was different. This wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's last card to play. Final systems check complete. Dr. Patel's voice came through her earpiece. Ready for neural interface testing. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. After hundreds of simulations, countless rejected candidates, and 3 failed interface attempts, she remained the only pilot whose mind could successfully sync with the Sentinel's hybrid systems. The ancient artifact had been clear. The ship needed more than just a pilot. It needed someone who could become one with its consciousness. Beginning interface sequence, Maya announced as Sarah settled into the neural cradle. The familiar cold kiss of the interface nodes pressed against her temples. "Remember, Commander, don't fight the connection. Let it flow naturally." Sarah closed her eyes as the first waves of alien consciousness washed over her. The sensation was overwhelming, like diving into an ocean of pure information. Through the Sentinel's sensors, she could feel everything. The vibration of the engineer's footsteps on the hull, the subtle gravitational pull of Earth in the distance, the faint radiation of distant stars. Neural sync at 67%, 85%, holding steady at 92%. Maya's voice seemed to come from very far away. "That's a new record, Commander." Sarah opened her eyes, but what she saw wasn't the inside of the neural cradle. She was the Sentinel now. Her consciousness expanded to fill every circuit and conduit. The ship's quantum defense matrix hummed with potential energy, ready to transform any attack into counterforce. "Running weapons test alpha through Delta," Maya announced. Target drones appeared in Sarah's expanded awareness. Without moving a muscle, she engaged the Sentinel's systems. Streams of redirected quantum energy lashed out, reducing the drones to their component atoms in microseconds. The power at her disposal was intoxicating and terrifying, in equal measure. "All tests nominal," Maya reported, but Sarah could hear the tension in her voice. "Preparing for full power trial." The chamber fell silent. They'd never attempted to channel the full output of the artifact's power core before. Previous unmanned tests had ended in spectacular failures, but they were out of time. The swarm had already passed Saturn's orbit. Sarah felt the energy build within the Sentinel's systems, an approaching tsunami of power that threatened to overwhelm her consciousness. Warning signals flared across multiple displays, but she held on, forcing herself to accept the connection, to ride the wave rather than fight it. Power levels at maximum. Maya's voice was tight with concern. "Sarah, your neural patterns are starting to show stress. We should abort." "No." Sarah gritted her teeth, pushing through the pain. "We need to know if this works. Keep going." The power continued to build, and with it came something unexpected: knowledge. The artifact wasn't just providing energy. It was feeding her information, teaching her things about the nature of space, time, and reality that no human had ever known. She saw the universe as the artifact's creators had seen it, understood why they had chosen this method of defense against the swarm. "This is incredible," Sarah gasped. "Dr. Patel, are you seeing this? The artifact. It's not just powering the ship, it's teaching me how to use it, how to think in quantum dimensions, how to—" Her voice cut off as a new sensation hit her. Through the Sentinel's long-range sensors, she detected them. The swarm fleet, now passing Jupiter's orbit. Thousands upon thousands of ships, moving in perfect formation, their hulls bristling with weapons that had ended civilizations. But Sarah wasn't afraid anymore. The artifact's knowledge filled her mind, showing her exactly what the Sentinel could do. This ship wasn't just a defense system, it was a key to understanding the very fabric of reality, and how to bend it. "Dr. Patel," Sarah's voice was steady now, confident. "I know how to beat them. The artifact's creators, they didn't just give us a weapon. They gave us understanding. The swarm's weapons, their technology, it all operates on principles we can turn against them." Maya's voice crackled with excitement. "Explain." "Their entire fleet is connected through quantum links. It's how they coordinate such perfect formations. But those same links are their weakness. If we can disrupt one ship's quantum field, the disruption would cascade through their entire fleet." Maya finished, realization dawning. "Sarah, that's brilliant. But the power requirements will be massive," Sarah acknowledged. "But the Sentinel can handle it. I can handle it. The artifact has shown me how." The next 3 days were a blur of final preparations. The Sentinel systems were pushed to their limits, then beyond, each test confirming Sarah's newfound understanding. The ship wasn't just responding to her commands anymore. It was anticipating them, working with her as if it were an extension of her own body. Admiral Chen visited her the night before deployment. He stood at parade rest, studying his daughter with a mixture of pride and fear. "The swarm has accelerated," he reported. "They'll reach Mars by tomorrow evening. Humanity is counting on you, Commander." Sarah met her father's gaze. "We won't fail, sir. The artifact's creators fought the swarm before. They couldn't defeat them then, but they made sure we could. Tomorrow, we finish what they started." The last line. Mars hung like a red jewel against the void, its surface scarred by centuries of human colonization. From the Sentinel's quantum-enhanced sensors, Commander Sarah Chen could see everything. The abandoned colonies, the emergency bunkers deep underground where the last survivors huddled, and beyond, the approaching wall of darkness that was the swarm fleet. "Sentinel Actual, this is Earth Command." Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly despite the distance. "You are cleared to engage. Good hunting, Commander." Sarah didn't respond immediately. Through her neural link with the ship, she was already analyzing the swarm's formation. 10,000 ships, arranged in a complex three-dimensional pattern that resembled a giant predatory organism. At their center, a vessel twice the size of the others pulsed with malevolent energy. The command ship. "Message from the swarm, Commander," her AI interface reported. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through." A voice that seemed to be composed of 1,000 different tones spoke. "Irrelevant species designation. Human. Your resistance is noted. Your technology is primitive. Your destruction will be efficient. Your useful elements will be preserved for processing." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "They still can't detect our quantum signature," she subvocalized to Dr. Patel, who was monitoring the mission from Luna. "The artifact's stealth systems are working perfectly." "Remember the simulations," Maya cautioned. "You'll only get one shot at disrupting their quantum network. After that, they'll adapt." The swarm fleet was spreading out now, their formation shifting like a sea creature extending its tentacles. They still hadn't noticed the single human ship hiding in Mars' shadow, its hull drinking in all light and energy that touched it. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the Sentinel systems harmonize with her own consciousness. The artifact's knowledge flowed through her mind. showing her exactly where to strike. The swarm's quantum network had a rhythm to it, a pulse that connected each ship to the others. If she timed it perfectly, "Beginning attack run," she announced, and the Sentinel responded instantly. The ship accelerated from stillness to relativistic speeds in microseconds, its quantum drive bending space-time around it. To the swarm's sensors, it would appear as if the Sentinel had materialized out of nowhere directly in their midst. "Unknown vessel detected." The swarm's thousand voice spoke again, this time with an edge of confusion. "Configuration does not match known human capabilities." Analyzing. Sarah didn't give them time to finish their analysis. The Sentinel's quantum matrix activated, drawing in the energy from hundreds of swarm weapons that had opened fire simultaneously. But instead of being destroyed, the Sentinel grew stronger with each hit, its systems converting the enemy fire into usable power just as the artifact's creators had designed. "Impossible." The swarm's voice held something new now. "Fear. This technology, it cannot exist. You are not permitted to possess such capabilities." "You're not the first advanced species we've encountered," Sarah transmitted back. "And the ones who came before you left us a gift." She struck then, channeling the absorbed energy through the Sentinel's quantum disruptors. The beam that lanced out seemed to bend reality itself, cutting through the swarm's defenses like they didn't exist. It struck the first ship, and for a moment nothing seemed to happen. Then the cascade began. The quantum disruption spread from ship to ship, following the very network connections the swarm relied upon for their coordination. Sarah watched through the Sentinel's sensors as ship after ship lost power, their quantum fields collapsing as the carefully ordered pattern of their fleet dissolved into chaos. But the swarm wasn't finished. Even as their ships began to fail, the massive command vessel at the center of their formation was adapting, attempting to sever its quantum connections to prevent the cascade from spreading further. "They're learning faster than we anticipated." Maya's voice was tense. "Sarah, you need to take out that command ship now." The Sentinel systems were already at their limit, straining to contain the massive amounts of energy they'd absorbed. Sarah could feel the pressure building in her mind, threatening to overwhelm her neural interface. But she wasn't done yet. Diverting all power to primary weapons, she announced, even as warning signals flashed across her consciousness. "Preparing for final strike." The command ship was massive, its hull writhing with defensive energy fields that would have vaporized any conventional vessel. But the Sentinel wasn't conventional. As Sarah brought her ship around for the final attack, she activated systems that the artifact's creators had hidden away, waiting for this moment. The universe seemed to hold its breath as the Sentinel's quantum matrix reached full power. In that instant, Sarah understood completely what the artifact's creators had sacrificed to give humanity this chance. Their entire civilization had died to develop this technology, to create a weapon that could finally stop the swarm. "For Earth," Sarah whispered. "For all of us." She fired. Quantum Gambit. Time seemed to fracture as the Sentinel's quantum beam struck the swarm command ship. Sarah Chen watched through both human eyes and quantum sensors as reality itself appeared to bend around the point of impact. The massive vessel didn't explode. It unraveled, its very atomic structure dissolving as quantum fields collapsed in a cascading chain reaction. Energy readings off the scale. Maya's voice crackled through the comm. "Sarah, get out of there. The quantum cascade is spreading faster than our models predicted." But Sarah couldn't move. Through her neural link with the Sentinel, she was experiencing something extraordinary. The artifact's knowledge, dormant until now, suddenly bloomed in her mind. She understood what was really happening, and why the artifact's creators had chosen this particular method of defense. "Dr. Patel," she managed, her voice strained, "I know why they left us the artifact. This isn't just about defeating the swarm, it's about what happens after." The quantum cascade was spreading through the swarm fleet like a wave of uncreation, each ship caught in its path, dissolving into constituent particles. But as Sarah watched, those particles didn't dissipate, they reformed, creating new patterns, new structures. The artifact's creators didn't just give us a weapon. Sarah continued, her voice filled with awe. They gave us a tool of transformation. The swarm, they're not being destroyed. They're being changed. Through the Sentinel's enhanced sensors, she could see it clearly now. The quantum cascade wasn't erasing the swarm ships. It was rewriting them at the most fundamental level, using patterns encoded in the artifact itself. The very same technology that made the swarm so formidable. Their quantum network had become the conduit for their metamorphosis. I don't understand. Admiral Chen's voice joined the channel. What's happening to them? The artifact's creators faced the same choice we did, Sarah explained, the knowledge flowing through her like a river. They couldn't defeat the swarm conventionally, so they created something that could change them instead. But they needed someone else to complete their work, someone who could see the swarm with fresh eyes. The transformation was accelerating now. Where there had been warships, new forms were taking shape, structures of light and energy that defied conventional physics. The swarm's thousand voice spoke again, but this time it was different, filled with confusion, wonder, and something that sounded almost like relief. We remember, the voice said, before the hunger, before the endless consumption. We were different. Sarah's neural link with the Sentinel throbbed with new information. The swarm wasn't always like this. They were peaceful once, before something changed them, corrupted their quantum network, and turned them into cosmic predators. The artifact's creators couldn't reverse the damage in their time, but they could plant the seeds of restoration. And we just activated those seeds. Maya breathed. Sarah, the readings, these new energy patterns, they're similar to the artifact itself. The transformation was complete. Where the swarm fleet had been, there now hung a vast network of crystalline structures, pulsing with the same inner light as the lunar artifact. Sarah could feel them reaching out, not to attack, but to connect. This is what the artifact's creators intended, Sarah said softly. Not destruction, but redemption. They turned their greatest enemy into their legacy. But the price of victory was steep. The Sentinel systems were failing, overloaded by the massive energy requirements of triggering the transformation. Warning signals flashed across Sarah's consciousness as the neural interface began to break down. Commander, you need to disconnect now. Maya's voice was urgent. The power feedback is going to fry the neural systems. Sarah knew she should comply, but something held her in place. One last piece of knowledge flowing from the artifact's encoded wisdom. Wait, she gasped. There's more. The transformation. It's not just affecting the swarm. Through failing sensors, she watched as waves of quantum energy rippled out from the transformed fleet, spreading through space like ripples in a pond. When they reached Mars, the dormant colonies began to shimmer with new life. Emergency systems reactivated, but not with their original programming. With something new, something evolved. The artifact's creators didn't just want to save us from the swarm, Sarah realized. They wanted to give us what they never had. A chance to evolve beyond the cycle of conflict, to become something more. The Sentinel systems were critically unstable now, but Sarah managed one last transmission. Admiral, Dr. Patel, I don't think this is the end of the story. I think it's just the beginning. The neural interface crashed, and Sarah's consciousness slammed back into her human body. The Sentinel, its mission completed, began to drift. But through the viewport, she could see the transformed swarm ships beginning to move with purpose, not as conquerors, but as guardians of something new. The artifact's final gift wasn't just survival, it was transformation. And humanity, along with their former enemies, was about to embark on a journey that would reshape their understanding of existence itself. Legacy of Stars. 1 month after the quantum cascade, Earth's night sky had become unrecognizable. The crystalline structures that had once been the swarm fleet now formed a shimmering network visible from the planet's surface, a new constellation that humanity was still trying to understand. Dr. Maya Patel stood in her lunar laboratory, watching Commander Sarah Chen undergo another series of tests. The neural interface with the Sentinel had changed her in subtle but profound ways. She wasn't just human anymore. She had become something of a bridge between what humanity was and what it was becoming. "The transformation is accelerating," Sarah said, her eyes reflecting the same inner light that now pulsed through the artifact. "Not just in the colonies on Mars, but here too. Can you feel it?" Maya could. The quantum ripples that had spread out from the transformed swarm had triggered changes throughout the solar system. Human technology was evolving, integrating with the principles encoded in the artifact. But more importantly, humanity itself was changing. Another research station came online today, Maya reported, bringing up a holographic display. This one was deep under Europa's ice. "We thought it was destroyed years ago, but the quantum wave, it didn't just reactivate the technology. It evolved it." The display showed structures that seemed to defy conventional physics, buildings that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The scientists working there reported unprecedented breakthroughs in their understanding of reality itself. "They left us more than just a defense system," Sarah mused, watching the display. The artifact's creators, they were playing a longer game. They knew that defeating the swarm wasn't enough. The cycle of conflict and consumption would just repeat with another species, another civilization. Through the viewport, they could see the Sentinel in its docking cradle, its hull now transformed like everything else the quantum cascade had touched. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It had become a key to understanding the universe in ways humanity had never dreamed possible. "We're receiving another transmission from the transformed swarm consciousness," Maya's assistant announced. The message that filled the room wasn't just sound, it was pure information, conveyed directly to their evolved consciousness. "We remember everything now. What we were, what we became, what your ancestors, our adversaries, sacrificed to give us this chance. We are ready to share this knowledge, if you will receive it." Sarah smiled. "They're not just offering to teach us. They're inviting us to join them in something greater." The evidence was everywhere. The quantum transformation had spread to every human outpost in the solar system, not destroying or replacing, but evolving. Solar panels became quantum energy collectors. Simple computers became consciousness matrices, and humans themselves were developing abilities that their ancestors would have considered miraculous. The artifact's creators knew this would happen. Sarah continued, her voice distant as she accessed knowledge that now lived in her transformed mind. They couldn't save themselves, but they could ensure that whoever found their legacy would be ready for the next step in cosmic evolution. Maya watched as new data streamed across her displays. Reports from throughout the solar system of spontaneous technological leaps, of children being born with natural quantum awareness, of the barriers between mind and reality beginning to blur. "What do we become?" she wondered aloud. Sarah's answer came with certainty. "What we were always meant to be." The artifact's creators didn't just give us the means to survive. They gave us the blueprint for transcendence. But they made sure we'd only access it when we proved we could choose transformation over destruction. Outside, the transformed swarm structures shifted, creating patterns of light that seemed to dance between the stars. They were no longer enemies or even aliens. They had become partners in an evolutionary journey that was just beginning. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm, touched now with the same resonance that all transformed humans shared. "The UN Council has made its decision. We're accepting their offer." Maya turned to Sarah, seeing in her friend's evolved consciousness a glimpse of what humanity would become. "Are we ready for this?" Sarah stood, her form seeming to shimmer slightly as quantum states fluctuated around her. "That's what makes us human. We're never ready. We just go forward anyway. The artifact's creators chose us for a reason. They saw in us what we're only now beginning to see in ourselves. Through the quantum network that now connected all transformed consciousness, they could feel it, the stirring of something vast and wonderful. Humanity hadn't just survived its greatest trial. It had emerged transformed, ready to take its place among the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as inheritors of a legacy greater than they had imagined. The artifact pulsed one final time, its purpose fulfilled, as humanity took its first steps into a future where the boundaries between thought and reality, between self and cosmos, had begun to fade. The story of human civilization hadn't ended with the swarm's arrival. It had merely entered its next chapter. And somewhere, in the quantum patterns that danced between stars, the essence of the artifact's creators lived on, watching their plan unfold across the vast canvas of space and time, as humanity carried their torch forward into an infinite future.